that I told you. That I told you so. I told you. Remember when I told you about 9/11? Remember when I told you about Building 7? Remember when I told you about the fluoride in the water? Yes, I did. Remember when I told you about the New World Order? Remember that? Remember when I told you about the chemtrails in the sky? Remember when I told you that NASA was full of lies? Remember when I told you about the ultra mind control? Well, I just want to say that I told you so, yeah. Remember when I told you about 432 hertz, that is, and what 440 can do to you? It hurts my ears. Remember when I told you about the vaccine agenda? Yes, I did. And that Michelle Obama is a transgender. Yes, he is. The dinosaur fraud, the climate change scam, and yes, Sandra Bullock is also a man. Remember when I told you that there ain't no globe? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. Remember when I told you about the TV flicker rate? And how it puts your brain in an alpha state? Remember when I told you about germ theory? Remember when I told you about gravity? Remember that? Remember when I told you about Paul McCartney? Remember when I told you about direct energy? Remember when I told you about Monsanto? Well, I just want to say that I told you so. 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 Yeah. Told you about the mainstream media, your so-called celebrities and pedophilia. Remember that child trafficking and that adrenochrome. Remember when I told you about the Georgia Guidestone?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the America First Warehouse for the Know Your Enemies podcast, episode 23. I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth.
At the most patriotic venue in all the land, the America First Warehouse.
That's right. Got a quick announcement about Real America Voice. They're going to be doing a podcast, so I want everybody to go to the App Store and download RAV, Real America Voice, onto your phone. And go look at the podcast. You'll find the Know Your Enemies podcast up. And go tune in, man. We're
going to be on iHeartRadio?
iHeartRadio, yep.
Okay, awesome.
It's going to be good. So March 25th, 2025, Trump is still shooting for the stars now, man. We got so much good stuff going on with our country. It's amazing. We got the Department of Education getting thrown into the wood chipper. Bye-bye. So we're going to be defunding the Department of Education. Everything that's not necessary, and the way that everything is taught in schools right now has completely been flipped on its head from what it was supposed to be.
The curriculum's hacked.
Yeah.
By the New World Order.
Yep. So in the early 1900s, the Rockefeller family put a lot of money into the Department of Education, and you could go track back the roots with that. And it goes back to John D. Rockefeller, who wanted to set up a monopoly over everything. And one of his key quotes was, "Competition is a sin." Right? And if you're looking at competition as a sin, you're looking at everybody else around you as an enemy. So what he did was he put a lot of money into the Department of Education to basically set the curriculum standard for America. And he just wanted a bunch of docile workers that really didn't know too much and could just do the jobs and shut up and be happy.
I wonder if that has anything to do with, like, even if you participate, you get a trophy type of mentality.
Basically is, yeah. But he wanted to eliminate all that. So it's good. We're going to take the Department of Education, throw it right in the garbage pail where it belongs, and we're going to start new, leave it up to the states. You have certain states that have, different crops and different type of job skills that you need. Some type of some countries and states you need oil refining and more
you need
carpenters and
trades,
and depending on the state you come from, the trades might be different. And the schools should focus more on setting the kids up for a future within the bounds of where they live and where they could be applied best.
Absolutely. I know here we need boiler mechanics, and I think boiler mechanics, electricians, plumbers, they're in high demand, and kids aren't being guided to those trades. Instead, they're being sent off to get 4-year degrees to get out of college and not have any place to go.
Eat this $100,000 debt and be happy.
Yeah,
get a little piece of paper, put it on your wall, but don't get the job you even were.
I wonder how many school book companies Bill Gates actually owns.
Oh, that's a good question.
No, I know. I think he owns a lot of them.
Probably. That's worth some digging into. I'm sure he spread his money into.
I'm pretty sure he is all right behind the curriculum.
Yeah.
So tell me about Kash Patel.
So Kash Patel has officially launched investigations into this whole thing with the Tesla dealerships and these protesters getting all types of crazy and burning down the dealerships, setting fire to the cars, burning the pumps, the electric pumps. And, Kash Patel said enough is enough. We're going to start, charging you with terrorist activities because that's exactly what these people are. They're domestic terrorists, and they need to go rot away in a jail, and hit them with the max. I think I have I got a video we should pull up. I got Trump giving his insight on the whole Tesla situation. Let's jump that on.
Well, I view these people as terrorists just like others. When I looked at those showrooms burning and those cars, not one or two, like 7, 8, 10 burning, exploding all over the place. These are terrorists. You didn't have that on January 6th, I can tell you. You didn't have anything like that on January 6th, which is sort of amazing because on January 6th, the Democrats were talking. Nobody was killed other than a very beautiful young woman, Ashley Babbitt. Nobody was killed. And you look at what's going on now with these terrorists. These are terrorists, and that's an organized event. Take a look at their signs. Take a look. They're all made by the same sign company, a nice, expensive job. Now, these are the people that finance it are, in my opinion, in just as big a trouble as the people that are setting the match and setting the fires. So we'll see. It's under very serious investigation by the FBI and by the Justice Department.
Yeah. So that's exactly what needs to take place is get these investigations ramped up, hold these people accountable, and make examples of them on the national stage in front of everybody to see so these lefty loonies don't get this idea in their head that it's okay to go damage people's property. The videos are disgusting that they're coming out. They had, I don't know if I played it on the last week's episode with the guy wiping his butt juice on the car.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's disgusting. Disgusting.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm glad that President Trump mentioned that on January 6th he didn't see any of that because yesterday I posted on Communist Book that they were invited in on January 6th, and I posted the video showing when they were actually let in the Capitol building, the January 6th. I guess that you could call them past prisoners because they were held for 4 years as prisoners.
Yeah, hostages.
They were let in. I posted the video on Facebook. 17 people liked it out of, I think I have 12,000 followers. So please, if you see something like that video that I just posted, share it, because Facebook isn't letting anyone see it. They're putting it on the bottom of people's feeds. So this is what's happening. That's what happens with people like James Justice and I, that we are shadow banned. And we're seeing it constantly where if somebody's posting truth about what exactly happened on January 6th, they're shadow banned. Nobody sees the truth. So if you happen to see it on my page, please don't hesitate to share it. So I have 12,000 followers. I posted this video yesterday. It got 2 shares and 1 comment. This is a disgrace. And I blame Zuckerberg. I wish President Trump would break up Facebook. It's a disgrace. He said he was going to stop censoring, but he clearly hasn't stopped censoring.
Yeah, I think at this point they need to deem those public entities.
Absolutely.
And have rules and regulations on them where they have to abide by our Constitution, because they're big enough right now where they have a major say in shaping political landscapes on any direction they want to go to. And, by censoring people's speech that want to get truth out, it's harming our country faster than, the communists.
It's part of an agenda.
That got in here.
It is. It's part of an agenda
Yeah.
that they continue to carry out. And they said they were going to stop doing it. I posted pictures of my brother's injuries from that dog attack, and Facebook threatened to ban me for life. They made me agree to their terms and conditions. And if I hadn't posted those pictures, he wouldn't be in the hospital right now. We wouldn't have known that they were infected. And that those pictures could have actually saved his life.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. It's
if you don't like to see a little
much.
gore, these were just pictures of a dog attack. It was nothing crazy, and they threatened to ban me for it. But yet I post something that they don't want the public to know, which was that the January 6th hostages were actually let into the building with no force necessary, and they don't want the public to know it. Only 2 people made comments on it. It had 2 shares, rather,
Yeah.
and 12,000 followers. That's a disgrace. So if you see something like that on mine or James Justice's page, by all means, please share it, because the public doesn't see it unless you share it.
Yep. It's half the battle is getting the information out to spread to the masses so we could all make unison decisions on the same page. It's very important, and that's exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing by keeping everybody separated. I'll put out something. You won't see it for like a week later. It'll pop up in your feed. You'll be like, oh, that was last week.
Yeah.
But that's what they do.
So I said something to my girlfriend. I said, did you see what I posted yesterday? She said, no. I said, well, please take a look. She said, I can't find it. I said, let me show you I'll show you on my phone here. And I showed it to her, and she's like, wow, I never knew that.
Yeah.
She actually thought that it was like an armed insurrection. Meanwhile, they were let into the building. There was no arms.
Yeah.
Nobody was killed. The Patriots never harmed law enforcement. Nobody was shot and killed, or there was no law enforcement killed by Patriots.
No, it was the other way around.
It was the other way around, where an Air Force veteran was killed, and it was a woman who posed no threat.
Yeah.
And there was no justice. There was no accountability for that. So we would like to see accountability for that, actually.
Yeah, that's going to be coming down in the future.
God willing.
Yeah.
So back to our current events here. We have decentralization through cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, so Doge Elon Musk is making a power move with Doge, and he's basically turning it into a tradable platform, so where it's going to be like a public entity. So they're trying to take the power away from the Fed, because the Fed has the CBDCs that they're trying to shift everybody onto, which they control, and we don't want that. So there has to be an alternative coin. I mean, I don't really trust Elon Musk. I like the guy. I think he's doing good things for the country, but as far as certain things, I don't trust him in.
You think he's a Bond villain?
I don't. Yeah, he's up there. He's up there. But I don't trust him enough to put our country's economy within his coins. If he's the founder of Doge, right? The Doge coin?
Yeah.
And he wants everybody to convert U.S. dollars and all this stuff and to bank our economy on his cryptocurrency, I don't trust that at all.
You would rather be backed on the gold.
I would rather have a U.S. treasury, or like a digital treasury, where they peg that digital currency to gold and silver, where it can't be manipulated. It's got to be at a fixed rate.
Right,
Because if we
right.
start playing around with, Elon Musk,
Yeah, public
his stock,
perception
yeah,
of
his
the
stock
coin
dumped down, and
drops,
now all of
now
a sudden
our
we
money's
lost
worthless.
half of our economy.
Yeah.
I don't trust that at all. But
Okay.
something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, definitely keep
you
an eye
know?
out on that, people. And the globalist power being dismantled worldwide by the people other countries wanted to pull out of the United Nations to follow.
Yeah. So Trump is pulling us out of the United Nations and
Right.
the World Health Organization. Well, first he's doing the World Health Organization, and then we're going to end up pulling out of the United Nations. And there's a lot of other countries that are starting to gain momentum with their patriot movements inside their countries, and they're starting to pull out too. Like we were talking about last week with Ireland, with Conor McGregor running for president. So if they get that movement fully kickstarted over there, that means they're going to be exiting the European Union, and that's just another globalist, think tank group that was set up to gain control over the masses of the world. So as we dissolve these certain programs where we got the United Nations, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, Davos, once we get these key groups in check, then we could really go to what's on top of them, pulling their strings, and that's where all the power's at. It's the entities.
Those are the real Bond villains.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's good.
George Washington's warning letter?
Oh yeah. So pull up this warning letter from George Washington. All right. So this was a letter written in 1798 by George Washington. George Washington, and it says it was a warning to the Illuminati, saying that how they were going to infiltrate secret societies such as the Freemasons and to be on the lookout for them. And years later, they gifted the Statue of Liberty. This ties into the Statue of Liberty thing because now you hear France wants the Statue of Liberty back.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, you guys don't deserve it.
Sure.
What a lot of people don't realize is that the Statue of Liberty was gifted to us by Freemasons.
Okay.
And the same Freemasons that basically infiltrated the Masonic order, Illuminati that infiltrated the Freemasons, are the same ones that gifted this sculpture. So if you start breaking down the Statue of Liberty and what it represents, and then you go back in time and look at paintings that were painted of Lucifer back in the 1700s around the same time, this thing, the faces match identically. It's got the torch of illumination up. Let's go to that clip with it's on. Yeah, play that. Tell me this isn't the weirdest thing you've ever seen. All right, the 7 spikes of the 7 deadly sins. So this was the gift from France. There's your Masonic symbol on the cornerstone. Same chains as Lucifer had when he got cast down to the earth. Right outside of New York, right? Now we're going to tie in another video to this that has to do with Broadway and Times Square. Now, keeping in mind the Statue of Liberty and the symbolism behind it, and it was done by the Freemasons who were infiltrated. And Albert Pike was one of the highest Freemasons that existed within the organization. And in one of his books called Morals and Dogma, he admitted that the light bearer that all the Masons seek by going up these degrees, and you reach the 33rd degree, and it goes a little higher than that with other organizations, they're all attempting to be enlightened through all of these different degrees. So that's what it is. And now Times Square is nicknamed the Devil's Playground. And we're going to get into a quick video of why they call that the Devil's Playground and the real symbolism behind Times Square and Broadway.
What is the hidden meaning of Times Square? And how does it relate to the satanic? Times means to multiply. The multiplication sign, also known as the times sign, is the symbol X.
Now keep in mind, these people
X is
put
the
things in plain sight
24th
for a
letter
reason.
of the alphabet. 24 equals 6 when you add up the numbers.
And numerology
And
is
now,
very big.
the word square.
The Masonic Institute.
Square means to multiply by itself. For example, 5 squared is 5 times 5. So x represents both square and times, making that triple X or triple 6. Hence the old triple X rated movies. According to James Traub, Times Square is the devil's playground. No wonder why Disney came to the rescue.
And then Disney's got 666 on their logo embedded.
Yet again 666.
Walt Disney was a Freemason.
Nothing to see here.
Also a big pervert.
So what's next to Times Square? Hell's Kitchen. And what's next to Hell's Kitchen? The garden,
now, is this all a coincidence?
as in the Garden of Eden.
Right?
Now we
No,
know
not
why
a-
New
not a
York is
coincidence
the
at
Big
all.
Apple. And what do we know about Lucifer? Lucifer was a glorified angel, but fell from heaven to establish his own kingdom. According to the scriptures, Lucifer is the morning star. The term Lucifer is Latin for light bearer or light bringer, hence the name, the morning star. Every New Year's Eve we perform a ritual at Times Square, as we marvel at the bright ball of light descending down from high above.
No, I've done that. I've been to Times Square. Had no
Lucifer,
idea.
the light bringer,
Makes sense, though, when you put it
otherwise
in
known
context.
as the morning star. Enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction.
Pretty
Welcome to
wild.
the Matrix.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Matrix. So, behind the power structures that really run the world, that's what's going on. This is, like everybody always says, this is more of a spiritual battle than it is a physical battle, because there's a lot of dark forces at play. And at the top of these organizations, it's Satanist. And that's what it is. They worship Lucifer. They're inducted into secret societies like the Freemasons. They're
Skull and
told
Bones.
Skull and Bones. You have dozens of these different little fraternities that exist on the outskirts of these main clubs, and it's disgusting. I mean, if you have to take a blood oath and swear, through different rituals, secrecy, then you shouldn't have anything to do with our country to begin with, because that's not what we were founded on. We were founded on Christian principles, and that's where our morals stemmed from. So that's why you see, let's have transgender parades and drag queen story hour, and all this.
And people bring their children to these things, and they see more than they should be seeing at the ages that they're seeing them.
Yeah,
but
a
it's
lot more.
mostly people that want to expose their kids to that.
Yeah.
They want to. What's the word? They want to. They want to like season their kids.
Groom them.
Groom them. Yeah,
Groom
they want to
them.
groom them to the possibility that they could be a possible.
And that all falls on the parents' morality.
Absolutely.
They have no morale, and that's what it is.
Absolutely.
They're just wicked people. They might not think they are because they're just living in society. But, at the end of the day, if you're going to push that ideology on your child,
Let them come to their own conclusions
it's a mess.
naturally.
yeah.
That's what we did, and our parents never played any role in our preferences.
Yeah.
So,
Did you hear about the rally we did? We
No.
did a
Oh,
rally
I think I saw the resistance.
Sunday, and it was pretty good. So the Belmore Patriot had their rally season kickoff. Decent amount of people showed up. It was good, man. Flags flying.
Nice.
But a mile away down the road at the Merrick train station, we were at the Belmore train station. In Merrick, there was a counter protest, I guess, for Elon Musk and Trump or whatever. And I got some of the highlights from that. I'm going to show you the difference between the two. This is the protesters. No kings, no felons. You count on one hand how many American flags there are, and then all the signs are handwritten. No wrapped vehicles. No nothing. And they all have the same bland look,
Yeah.
like an unseasoned potato. And this is us right here. This is what the Patriots do. So this was like pretty early in the day. I got there around early. Cars coming out. Ooh. Look at Joe the Box. It's coming. We had a beautiful stage set up. Thanks to the Long Island Mega Patriots. And this is a little good time we had over here at the warehouse. If you don't know about our events, I'm telling you, go over to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com, click on the events tab, sign up, use your email so you're stay up to date on all the stuff we have going on here. But what a good time. This was a little dance party we had.
Nice.
What a great time. So, yeah, man.
All right, so what next?
What do we got?
Danny Williams?
Oh yeah. All right. So this is the guy I'm going to be trying to get on in the future. I got in contact with him. He's kind of been giving me the runaround a little bit, but you know, maybe we're playing tag. But I'm looking to get him on the show. Right. Check this out. Pull up the picture of Danny Williams. Now, Danny Williams is a guy that kind of looks like a guy that we all know, right? So back in 1985, before Bill Clinton was out of Arkansas, he was sleeping around and slept with a lady, and she ended up having his kid. And the kid's name's Danny Williams, and he is Bill Clinton's son. And Bill Clinton will not acknowledge him or nothing. And back when he was younger, in between the first 6 months of when he was born, Bill Clinton was going there and giving him cash because he felt bad because they lived in the projects. The mother lived in the projects. And, you know, so throughout Danny's life growing up in Arkansas, all the people that knew Bill Clinton from Arkansas would look at Danny and be like, yo, you're Bill Clinton's kid, and constantly make, comments to him because he looked just like Bill Clinton. So as the years went by, people kept telling him. His mother ended up passing away. He went to go live with his aunt. And through that time, they said, try to reach out to him. Reach out to Bill. Let him know he's your father, and, get a paternity test. So Danny Williams got on TV. He got some publicity back in 2016, and they started to talk about his name. As soon as it started to make airways towards Bill Clinton, it got shut down by mainstream media, and nobody wanted to cover it. So this whole time, he's been trying to get his story out. He's been asking Bill Clinton to take a paternity test, and Bill Clinton refuses to take the test. He still won't take the test. And I'll tell you, anybody that I know that's a man that would hear that, hey, you got a kid, like this, somebody saying, oh, you're my dad.
And naturally, they would take
you're going to take the paternity test because, it's whatever, 40 years later or not, it is.
But
what
we
it
know
is.
what kind of man Bill Clinton is.
Oh, yeah.
How much money did he pay in hush money?
Oh, lots.
Yeah.
Lots with the blue dress and all that. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't
Blue
know all
dress
the
in it.
particulars, but I know that it gets really gory.
I know that.
There was violent biting and stuff.
Oh yeah,
involved.
I know that Jeffrey Epstein had Clinton in a blue dress, hanging in his.
Well, we have a
living room.
very special guest this evening.
Yeah, I got to run into a commercial first, and we're gonna come back.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna run into a commercial break, and when we come back, we still got a couple minutes, but it's all right. When we come back, we're gonna bring on a special guest, and you won't want to miss this. So make sure you stay with us, and let's go. Yeah. What else you got? Any red light camera updates?
The red light camera update is that the county is saying, and the vendor is saying, last I heard, that they can't find everybody's data who paid their tickets. Therefore, they can't pay everyone back, even though they've lost the class action lawsuits against we the people, and they have been ordered to pay back the money that they took above and beyond the $50 ticket.
That's ridiculous.
And
How convenient.
Somebody tonight asked me, how is it unconstitutional? I said, how is it legal for the company taking the video to profit from your conviction?
Yeah.
We know that the videos can be manipulated.
Yeah.
So that's just one factor of unconstitutional.
Oh, I got another scam that they're starting to pull now. With the, you ever hear the? Okay, you can skip that one.
Yeah, if you
I'll tell you when to come in.
okay.
So, what do you call it? What was I saying?
About the
They gon' hate me
All
for
right.
this one. Hey, 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 you know what's really wild? Got your own son calling you a pedophile. Why you getting called that by your own child? It say Pedo Peter every time the phone down. Huh, wow, Hunter arguing with hookers while they wearing crack. Whoa, they call it a conspiracy, but I'm saying facts. Whoa, in the mansion up in Cali, but who pay for that? Whoa, the media gon' cover it up like he ain't get hacked. Whoa. Here we go again. If it was Trump Jr., it would be on CNN. This what happens when you rich, but you a slave to sin. This what happens when the devil knock you let him in. Nah, I don't care about who this offends. Buying crime family, they all belong in the pen. Buying loves minors, that's the real BLM. Call me what you want, but at least I ain't a damn. Wait, hold up, don't get mad at me. Am I tripping or is he in bed with Natalie?
He's saying, I'm sorry that it took so long to give you $10,000. Do you have any bruise? Anything? Have I ever touched you in a bad way? Ever? Have I asked you every time if I could touch you? Every time.
Why he recording all that? What's the strategy? If you do incest, you probably do bestiality. Hey, the president's son is a crackhead, but you the smartest guy. He know that's what your dad said. Is he the real president or Jack led? Why is everyone that voted for your dad dead? Hey, you know what's really wild? Got your own son calling you a pedophile. Why you getting called that by your own child? It say Pedo Peter every time the phone down. Huh, wow, Hunter arguing with hookers while he wearing crack. Whoa, they call it a conspiracy, but I'm saying facts. Whoa, in the mansion up in Cali, but who pay for that? Whoa, the media gon' cover it up like he ain't get hacked. Whoa, all the women in your phone, can we check the age? Wasn't you on Epstein Island, can we check the page? Hunter needs to be in prison, put him in the cage. I thought he was clean, seemed like he ain't changed his ways. And that ain't working for Burisma, how he get a raise? 10% for the big guy, who all getting paid? I still don't know why he recorded, is it blackmail? But do you really think any of them will go to jail? They satanic and all of them will go to hell. You a lame Hunter and your daddy lame as well. It's obvious, but if you blind and read it in braille, will the corruption never end? Only time will tell. The president's son is a crackhead, but you the smartest guy. He know that's what your dad said. Is he the real president or Jack led? Why is everyone that voted for your dad dead?
All right, guys, welcome back to the America First Warehouse, the Know Your Enemies podcast. We have Rita Palmer as a special guest today, and oh my goodness, we're excited to have her here. She is going to dive into some of her professional expertise.
She has a tremendous following on Facebook and social media, and she is very, very, very popular amongst people that are anti-vaxxers and followed the mandates for our children to be able to attend school. They were mandated to have a whole slew of vaccinations, and I want to introduce Rita Palmer.
Thank you. Thank you. Is this working?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, yeah, I've been an activist in vaccine choice, vaccine freedom, health freedom, medical freedom, whatever you want to call it, for about 20 years now. My backstory is I filed a religious exemption back when we had it, and my school district took the bold step of quizzing me about my religious beliefs for a total of 4 hours.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
Two
crazy.
different times. And the second time I actually videoed it, it was an attorney, loathsome individual, and I put it on YouTube back when, viral wasn't even a thing.
Yep.
And I was up to 50,000 hits. They forced me to take it down 5 different times, and then they threatened me with expulsion. So I ended up taking it down, but I had 50,000 hits in the bank, and I heard from people all over the country that, hey, what is this going on in New York? They can, interrogate you about your religious beliefs. And I said, they sure can. So that kind of started me on my journey to protect and clean up the religious exemption situation to immunizations in New York. However, as you know, we actually lost the religious exemption not too long ago, 6 years ago.
And you were there witnessing the actual...
Yeah. What we were working hard to protect it. We actually had a bill, strangely enough, in 2018, the year before, that protected it. And we were doing pretty well with it. We got it out of the Senate Education Committee. It was an education bill, good for us. And then, a year later, personally, I think it was... The situation was that we were making progress, and pharma sort of got wind of it, and they don't like that. And the place is just crawling with lobbyists, and they all make a ton of money, as you know, of course, not just, Washington, D.C., but every capital and every city.
Even Suffolk County, yep.
Yeah, the whole bit. I mean, there's so much money at stake that why wouldn't they pay these people a tremendous amount of money to, forward with their agenda? And apparently they're completely devoid of any kind of sort of conscience. But anyway, so, we were working hard to protect it. And then the next season in 2019, this fake measles epidemic appeared. So they stirred up a bunch of fear, fear porn, stoked a lot of fear, and they got the ball rolling. And then the bill that was to repeal the religious exemption picked up a lot of steam. We were fighting hard, and up until the very last day, legislators and fellow lobbyists were telling us they don't have the votes, but then the health committee came. So we went to the health committee, 26 members, and we tied it up, 13-13. And we thought, okay, day's work, we're done. But Speaker Hasty, who I don't know, Carl Hasty, the Speaker of the Assembly, he made a rare appearance in the Assembly Health Committee meeting that day, and he's kind of in the back with his arms folded, and I don't know if you know the guy, but he's like about 4'11", and he's this little pipsqueak sitting in the back looking like a real tough guy. And when they were about to call the vote, 13-13, everybody goes home, nothing happens. He points to the junior member of the Assembly. His name is Nader Sage, nicknamed Nader the Traitor from Yonkers. He was fresh to the Assembly that year. So Carl Hasty points at him and he says, "Come on over here." So Nader gets up like a good little boy, goes over there, leans over, and Carl whispers in his ear. We don't know what he said, but we can imagine. And then Nader proceeds to go take a seat, get up, makes a big speech about First Amendment rights, blah, 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 and then switches his votes.
Wow.
So we lost 14-12. And by the way, there was an Assembly member that voted in support of the repeal who wasn't even physically present, and you're supposed to be physically present at all votes. So they twisted the rules on us so badly that day. And, but New York, you can't, what can you do about it? The Democrats have the supermajorities in both houses. You're kind of at their mercy at this point until we turn around the elections.
Right. The problem is that the public isn't holding our elected officials accountable. And they're only at this point in time, in my opinion, accountable to the lobbyists.
Yeah.
Whether it be at the Suffolk County Legislature, the New York State Legislature, or any legislature, all you see is lobbyists, very few members of the public. And that's how we actually were able to get the red light camera program to be basically terminated, is because these politicians had an election. This is why I say the red light camera program really ended on God's time, because the legislators didn't put forth the legislation. These politicians didn't put forth the legislation to renew the program because they knew that there was an election right after the termination of the contract or the expiration date of the contract. So it wasn't any particular person that convinced. They were just afraid of the knowledge, the general public being made aware of the
At the end of the
legislation
day,
being written.
all they
and who
care
wrote it.
about is getting their jobs back.
Yeah, they only
Re-election
care about
is what
being
it's all
elected.
about. And
Yeah.
unless you're a voting bloc, unless there's a crucial voting issue, unless there's a risk of them losing their jobs, you can't really move the needle.
Yeah.
Oh,
So what's nice now is the vaccine choice people, parentheses me and a gazillion other people, thank goodness at this point. We are a voting bloc now. And we have been acknowledged as one. We, as far as I'm concerned, we put Trump in the White House.
Yeah.
Bobby's crucial numbers put him there. And
Oh,
I was in Pennsylvania actually 2 weeks before the election, knocking on doors in Bucks County, which was a crucial county. And I talked to people. I knocked on doors. I talked to individuals at restaurants and, coffee shops and everything. And they were voting for Bobby. Many of them were.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah. And nobody was staying home this year. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway.
true.
Well, thank God that everything took place the way it did.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Hopefully
Amen.
we see changes. Hopefully they stop the chemtrailing.
Yeah,
That's
that
driving me crazy.
That is amazing that issue is seeing its day. I remember back when I knew Bill Lindsay, the original
Yeah.
Bill Lindsay, back in the Suffolk County Legislature, and I had a store, and he was a customer of mine, and he used to come in, and he would make fun of the whole chemtrail people You know, and I had like a healthy food store, so I
Yeah.
totally believed all
Oh,
of it.
yeah.
Yep.
And he would, you know, but you can't get it, you know, it's kind of rude. Anyway, so, but he would talk about it, and he was like, oh, those crazy people. You know, they show up at the meetings, and
Just
they're
get a little
all,
closer
you
to
know,
the
they're
mic.
all screaming and yelling and all that. And I was like, well, Bill, you know, maybe they have a point.
Well, you know, I think Ed Romine at one point wrote legislation to ban chemtrailing over Suffolk County.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe he did. Yeah. So
you-
I would love it if Ed Romine took that issue up again.
Oh, the states are moving in that direction. There,
Yeah.
I think
so.
somewhere
Yeah.
in the teens.
I heard another one
you know.
just did. I forget what state it was.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah.
Was it
I
Missouri?
forgot what state it was, but another state did. They made it illegal to be spraying over the state again.
Or
Yeah.
maybe legislation was written. I don't know if it has passed as of yet, but I know that more states are jumping on that.
Stop
Oh,
the
yeah.
spraying. Stop the childhood vaccination schedule because the aluminum, the polysorbate AB, the mercury, the
Graphene.
aborted
that's
baby
just the
fetal
start.
cells,
Yeah,
the green
yeah.
monkey tissue. It's all
Yeah,
designed to
you
destroy
can go right
us.
on the CDC website and ingredients.
It's called the
that-
expedient
yeah.
list.
Yeah, exactly.
It's called the expedient
I have it
list,
right
and
on
you
my
and you
phone.
go on there, and it's got every single vaccine, every single ingredient, and then you take the ingredients and you go look up those up separately and see what those are, and then if you go onto the back page of the expedient list, it says with thimerosal, where it's
Mm-hmm. Oh,
marked
no,
with an
excipients.
asterisk.
I'm sorry, not to correct you. Excipients. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
The word didn't sound quite.
Yeah.
Excipient
Excipients.
list. Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Look it up. You never have to stray any further from the CDC website in order to get the full harm of
Yep.
what's going on with these vaccines. You know, just start asking the CDC website a few questions, and it'll bring you right to the answers.
Yeah.
You know,
Remember, 1 in 20,000, maybe 20 years ago, were autistic children. And now it's 1 in 34.
Yeah.
You don't go from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 34 without problematic vaccinations.
How about this one? The Amish community, 0. And it's been like that. 0 autistic in the Amish community. 0
They
eczema
probably
in the
educate
Amish
their own
community.
kids.
Yeah, and
no,
if
they
you-
don't. They it's organic. They feed themselves organic, and they're not taking in red 40, yellow 5, all these carcinogenic, mutagenic food dyes and colorings. So
Yeah.
they're on a strict diet that they've been on for thousands of years.
And they're not vaccinating up their kids.
And they're not. Yeah, they're completely.
and they're
anti-vaccine.
exposing them to these diseases, which, in fact, there are some benefits. I can't remember the terminology. It's
Measles
something
parties?
about synapse or neural development, but there is actually a benefit. If you dig deep enough, you can find some benefits to contracting some of these childhood diseases.
They used to have measles parties in the 60s where
Yeah.
people, their kid would have measles, and then everybody in the neighborhood would go have them go play with the kid so they can get it over with so they don't get chicken
They still have them in Williamsburg.
Yeah. But the
I know a lot of them.
But was it Brian Hooker was the scientist that exposed the findings with the CDC, and he was a whistleblower, and then they destroyed his name. And then you also had William Thompson was another one that came out saying that autism rates in black kids was higher from the MMR vaccine, and then they buried it all. You used to be able to
Oh,
go on
yeah.
YouTube and type in vaccines before and after, and there were thousands of videos of parents that would upload their kids where they were walking, talking, normal, mommy, daddy, everything, normal milestones, and then all of a sudden they go in for the well baby visit, and they come out, and by the next day, extreme fever, and then they're staring at the sky, and they're disconnected from everything.
Yeah, and for years, decades, you know, little Missy, you know, you just shut up and sit down
Yeah.
because it's your total imagination. And then COVID comes roaring down the pike,
Yeah.
and now there's influential people who have totally woken up.
Yeah.
You know, MDs, scientists, you know, people with very big platforms, very
Yeah.
big microphones, very big brains and wallets.
And now they're openly saying it was a depopulation agenda, and that majority of the people that took triple and quadruple boosters have AIDS, vaccine-induced AIDS.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the doctor on the show when he gets back from vacation, Adam Gartner. He was the one going back and forth
Right.
with Fauci.
Yeah.
So I have him. He's going to be on. But I got those
I
emails.
hope you
a
guys
long
are paying
time ago.
attention
I
to
gotta
this.
watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm never gonna tell anybody if you want to take a vaccine, don't take it. But
I'll tell them that. Don't listen. Do not take anything from the CDC. Okay, I tracked back vaccines to the 1830s, and the mortality rates of all these vaccines were already on their way out by the time 1963 came around, and the vaccine, the measles vaccine, was
It was on its way
introduced.
out.
Every single disease was already flatlined, and you can check
and
the charts.
the bill of goods that we've been sold on the polio, filled with holes as well.
Yep.
Way too complicated for this podcast, but there's a history there that is extremely questionable, and it was manipulated.
Yeah.
So, but my thing is like, listen, if you do the proper research, then, nature takes
Yeah.
its course. If
God
you-
gave
if
us
you
everything we
read,
needed.
obviously you've read so much, and, all you have to do is really pull back the onion
Yeah.
very slightly, and it'll open up a can of worms that you just can't really resist,
Yeah.
reading until 4
And
o'clock in the
once
morning.
once you know this information, you can't go back to normal life. It doesn't work like
That's
that,
right.
right?
That's
If you
so
were
true.
if you were a Mets fan before, right, or a hockey fan, and that's what you spend your time doing, once you realize that the threats that you're facing and your family is facing, especially your children and their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be it. You're gonna take all your Met shit and throw it out and replace it with
Yeah.
all types of protest gear and bullhorns and everything, because the future of your families are worth it.
Gosh, isn't that so true? Like when we found out about Teflon, right? Everybody's going through their cabinets, filling up their
Right in the
garbage can
garbage.
with the Teflon.
Yep.
I never got the Teflon. I never bought it.
That was like
too.
Balenciaga when they found out that they were putting little kids in their in the ads with teddy bears and bondage and sexual bondage. Everyone went, and it went viral. Everyone burned their Balenciaga everything.
Wow.
And,
right. I remember that one. I'm a one lane kind of person, so I
Yeah.
love hearing you talk about all these other
Oh, yeah,
all these other
I deep
topics.
dive
It's
everything.
great. But yeah, you can't unknow what you know.
What we're trying
you
to
know?
do is
Yeah.
inspire you all to start using your minds.
Yep.
Don't just take someone's word for it, or buy into the agenda that they're pushing. Do a little research. It's your family's health you're talking about.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
don't take our word for it. Go look it up, right? Well, that's why half the time I pull up images and studies on the screen, because you could just hear me talk and I could just be rambling on a podcast, or I might be telling the truth and I just put the evidence right there to concrete slam it in your face so you can't deny it and you can't say anything about it and you
Yeah,
have to tune in.
and
Anytime he was interviewing doctors as they were administering the vax, and he asked them, what's in it? They couldn't tell you what
No,
was in it.
never. Not one.
They're pushing
They
it,
have
but
no
they don't
idea.
even know what's in it.
Not
They have
one.
absolutely no
and then,
idea
and
what's
then
in
at
it.
the pharmacies, you get the insert for the COVID shot, and it was a big blank giant piece of paper that folds out to about this big.
Yeah.
Big giant blank piece of paper when it's supposed to be loaded with information. And one thing to look at in the inserts of these packages is 13.1. It's subsection 13.1. It has to
13.1.
do with carcinogenic and mutagenic potential. And right underneath that, it says if it causes infertility. 99% of all of these shots have not been tested to cause infertility. So you're gambling.
And what's interesting too is if you just look around the rest of the world, what's the rest of the world doing with this?
Yeah.
Japan doesn't. First of all, none of the developed
They stopped
democracies
it.
have vaccine mandates.
Nope.
It's expressly on their departments of health websites that it's up to the parent what they want to do.
Yeah.
So mandates are unheard of literally in the rest of the civilized world.
Yeah.
Japan, you cannot get the MMR combined because they know how harmful it is.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, they're
can't legally
seriously
get it.
anti-vax in Japan.
They split it up, and then they wait until I think 3 years old to
Yeah.
start administering vaccines.
when the
And
neural
Japan
paths
has
are
much different
developed.
autism rates than America. Much,
Oh,
much different.
100%. I mean, their approach to health is, comprehensively a lot better than ours. The diet is extraordinary, but the blood-brain barrier closes at 3 years old.
Yep.
So we're pumping these kids up, 21 vaccines or some
With
crazy number
neurotoxins.
in the first 18 months before the blood-brain barrier is closed. What do you think is going to happen? And polysorbate 80, which you mentioned before,
This is the
as an
opener.
ingredient, is actually designed to cross the blood-brain
Mm-hmm.
barrier. So what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take a lot to connect the dots, but you just have to get past the snippets and the propaganda and the fear. We've decades and decades we've been told so many lies that they've taken on the color of truth, and the fear of disease and the fear of not doing the right thing by your child has been so instilled in us. It's
Yeah.
to snap out of it.
Yeah.
And there's also some guilt involved. Like if
Oh,
you're, down the path of vaccinating and well, gee, my kid has this weird allergy, he has some kind of learning disability, maybe it's my fault. It's a very hard thing to look in the mirror and
Yeah.
go, I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. My ignorance did that. But you know what? It's better to do that, look in the mirror and know this and change what you
Yeah,
do.
and push
and
forward.
encourage others to do the research.
Yeah,
you
do the
know?
research.
And-
Try and expand your minds a little bit.
Yeah, and if you're a doctor out there, right, you have a sole responsibility to your patients to provide them with informed consent, right? It's on the Nuremberg Code. You can't miss it. It's informed consent. If you as a doctor are pushing drugs or vaccines or any type of therapeutics on your patients without knowing exactly what the hell they are, what the ingredients are, how they counteract with other medications that your patients are taking, then you're not doing anybody a favor. You're not being a
They're
hero.
doing themselves a favor with a pay-for-performance system.
You're
They all
lining
get
your
bonuses
pockets.
Absolutely.
yeah.
And
what's happening
no
in
more.
pediatric offices is, well, it's been happening for quite some time, is patients are getting fired from the offices. Doctors
Yeah.
won't service them. And it's kind of a hard legal situation because this is a personal business. How can you force the doctor
Well,
to
the
do that?
lobbyists sign contracts with the doctors exclusively for them to keep a certain percentage rate of their patients vaccinated
Yeah.
and to be giving out certain medications that they're kicking over to these doctors.
Right.
So if they don't abide with that, they can penalize and fine the doctors by a lot of money.
Yes. Well, they
So
don't.
that
get
makes-
the
that makes
bonuses.
them start
so
filtering
if
out
the doctor,
patients.
I think it's between 85 and 100%, 100% vaccination rate, meaning that they get it exactly on time, not a day late.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
long as they hit those numbers between, I think it's 85 and 100%. Depends on the insurance company, whatever.
Yeah.
Each one has a different setup. Then they get these bonuses. And
Yep.
the bonuses have been going on for so long that it's not really like an extra money anymore. It's like just gets factored into the bottom line,
Yeah.
into payroll and whatever. So if suddenly this $40,000 or whatever it is gets deducted from their operating expenses, it really hurts them.
Yep.
So yeah, and people have to realize that's it's not fiction. I mean, it's all right there. Just look in P for P, pay for performance, and you can see.
Yeah.
And I believe that was ushered in with Obama.
Yeah.
Rather than
Patient portals.
Yeah, he totally rolled over for the pharmaceutical companies. So thanks.
Yeah.
We're not surprised. with
Thanks,
that one.
Barry Satoro. We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we threw
Tell
him
Mike
out
I
this,
said hi.
this time around.
Big
Thank God he's not in
Mike.
control anymore.
Big Mike. Yeah, we saw your podcast, Big Mike. We're not impressed.
Yeah,
Not
and if you want to
impressed.
talk about this whole country, 46 states in the United States have a clear path to refusing vaccines.
Yeah.
Like nobody goes through what I went through, getting interrogated about your religious
Yeah.
beliefs. That doesn't happen anywhere. So, but in 4 states,
Yeah.
in the United States, Connecticut, Maine, New York, and California, there's no functioning medical exemption. You have to jump through hoops.
Yeah.
And there's no religious exemption. So where's the way out? The way out
There
is
is no way out.
jump to
Homeschool.
move to Pennsylvania, move to Texas, move to Florida. So many of my friends have moved,
yeah.
which is wonderful because now we have, soldiers of the message all over the country.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they had to abandon their life, their job, their pension, their family.
Yeah,
yeah,
terrible. It's
yeah.
terrible.
It's awful. It's
And
awful what happened
Like I
to
said,
us.
it's no accountability. The public does not attend these political, whether they be town halls or legislature or assembly. There's no attendance from the general public. These politicians are only accountable to their payoffs,
Yeah.
and it's terrible, terrible, terrible.
But we are optimistic that Bobby is head of HHS. He knows government. He knows the issue. He has sat in appointments with me in Albany. He is shoulder to shoulder in Albany with the activists back in 19. So I have tremendous faith that he's going to, quote, die with his boots on, fighting for us.
Awesome.
And
Awesome,
yeah,
awesome,
he's
awesome.
Bobby. I can't say enough good things about RFK Jr. He's a good man. He's got a conscience, spiritual integrity, but he's in a snake pit, or I think somebody called it the submarine. So he's in the submarine of politics.
He's got to watch his 6 while he's out there,
What's it?
Absolutely.
He's got to watch his 6, watch his back.
Yeah.
I heard a conversation that was between him and Donald Trump about the vaccinations. Did you ever hear that conversation? That
When they that
was
was when they
amazing.
first that was right before they got together. Yeah, that was right after the assassination attempt because what was the July 19th was the assassination attempt? Is that the date? I can't believe I don't know that off the top of my head. What was it again? Or July 13th?
July
I don't know.
16th?
Shoot, I should really know that. I do remember when Bobby announced that he's getting together with Trump on August 23rd. So that was amazing. So it took them, I guess, a month and a half to work out the details. And here we are, with Bobby Kennedy as head of HHS.
Incredible.
And, he's staffing HHS and the 11 or 12 different agencies with people that, like, I know, that I've been following, Jay Bhattacharya.
That's the
and-
coolest thing about
yeah.
seeing the cabinet being formed is that we
Yeah.
know 90% of the cabinet. It's incredible.
Yeah, Dave Weldon didn't make it in, but that, it is what it is. You have to take some losses and mostly wins. But I think we're on the cusp of great enlightenment when it comes to specifically the vaccine issue, and then more broadly about our health. Our food. What are we taking into our bodies?
Yeah.
Why is our health so inferior to other developed democracies? Certainly, it's not for lack of money, but
No.
the corporations have been running roughshod over us for decades, and nobody's been doing anything about it. So, I'm looking forward to the next 4 years. Hopefully, if he hangs on to Congress in 26, that's a very important thing that he has to do.
We
Yeah.
have to get rid of Monsanto.
Yeah.
Well, Monsanto's Bayer now.
Yeah, we
So
have to get
we
rid of
gotta
Bayer.
get
Bayer
rid of
owns
Bayer.
Monsanto now. A lot of politicians are being paid off by these conglomerates.
Yeah, anybody that was working for the CDC, the FDA, the EPA, any of these organizations that came from a private globalist organization that's actively poisoning us, you need to be out of there immediately. Conflict of interest. You should
Yeah.
not be in any type
Oh,
of
the
public
revolving
capacity.
door is absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Bobby can write a book on that alone.
It's
And
crazy.
it's just incredible. But I think we have a lot to look forward to. Thank God we won November 5th. So things are shaping out.
God willing.
But-
We
Yeah,
we want to see
and,
the end
you
of the
know-
chemtrails and the end of the vaccine mandates.
Yeah, and as a population, we have to recognize that we have the ultimate say. If nobody ever goes into Home Depot or Lowe's and buys Roundup again, or any of Monsanto's products,
Exactly.
then we turn a cold shoulder. They will make something else that will make money. We're buying it. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Well,
in all honesty, there are counties in New York State where Roundup is illegal, and we've already established that the vinegar you can purchase at Costco, which is 20% the price of Roundup, is more effective, and it's safe. You could just treat these weeds with vinegar. You don't need to be using Roundup,
Yeah.
yeah.
and you don't have to expose your families to it in the garage. I know I've been exposed to it over the years. I know that I grew up with it. I was exposed to it then. I was exposed to it as a young adult, and I refuse to be exposed to it any longer. I just buy vinegar at Costco.
Those big
Safer.
$3 for a gigantic thing.
Exactly.
Why not?
No-brainer.
Can't get hurt.
Exactly.
But
Yeah,
you
you
know,
can put
I'm
it
not
down
the
your
only
drain,
one.
you
I
can clean
ran
your
into
dishwasher.
somebody spraying their weeds. I said, you can get vinegar. He said, that's what this is. It's vinegar from Costco.
Oh,
He was a New York City
that's
detective.
good. So we have to take that a step further. And like when you go around people's lawns and you see those obnoxious yellow signs that
signs?
say, please don't get your dog on this
Yeah,
because of pesticides.
poison.
We need to come up, or the county needs to come up with like a green leaf or something and says, hey, this is all organic or whatever, just to promote it, just as a suggestion to people, because it's better, obviously, for government to promote and persuade and educate than it is to mandate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should be all over that. And the county should give us some sort of a break. Like when we renovated our house 6 years ago, and we got the what's it called, the innovative, IA system. Yeah. So, and there was a county grant and a state grant.
Yeah.
So it turned out
10,000 each.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we came in at like 18,000 or whatever.
Gotcha.
So, programs like that are great. New York
Absolutely.
State got it right with that, or somebody did. Maybe it was Suffolk County driven. I really don't know, but that's a great system for us. And we live very close to the wetlands. We live in a canal.
Well, that's why they made
Yeah.
it so that if you were within a certain amount of distance. But now it's
Yeah,
just
but I think it's
mandatory.
all. Yeah, it's
Now
mandatory
just
for everybody.
mandatory,
Yeah. It's all for all new construction,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, but I mean, why would it just be isolated to new construction? It should, if it's free, why not everybody should do
Right,
it?
exactly.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Exactly. So we got a couple more minutes left. I want to make a quick announcement to everybody that has a Tesla out there, to all the Patriot groups on Long Island, New York State. We're going to be having a support protest. Well, it's not even a protest. It's more of a support rally for the Tesla dealership in Smithtown. It's on 1000 Nesconset Highway in Nesconset. And we're going to be meeting up over there around 11 a.m. At 12
Oh,
p.m.
that's a great space.
There's going to be counter protesters that are going to be showing up. So we're going to be getting there before them and make sure everybody goes out there and show support. If you want to meet us in the morning, we're going to be running a convoy out of Seaford train station. So meetup is at 9:30. We're rolling out at 10 p.m. sharp, 10 a.m. sharp, and we're going to be heading out to Wisconsin. So if
Oh,
you
that
want to
sounds
meet
like
up
fun.
and do a convoy, bring your vehicles, get your flags, flag them up, get your window markers right all over the car, some good signs to make liberal heads explode, and
Record it. Don't forget, record it.
and record it. So that's
Do,
going to be
do
going
the liberal
down.
do counter protesters actually show up?
Sure, they do.
Well,
They do?
Well, now that Elon Musk is there with this whole Tesla thing,
Uh-huh.
they're kind of a little more set on fire than they were. But for all these years we've been doing these rallies, there's barely anybody that ever shows
Okay,
up.
But
okay,
with the
okay.
Tesla thing, they were.
Yeah, they're all
They're all over
psyched
that.
up right now over
Especially because
Doge.
it's near primarily liberal area.
Yeah. So Saturday, March 29th.
Not
Be there.
Smithtown,
Okay.
but Stony Brooks are talking.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, you've got St. James. That's like super conservative.
Yeah.
You know, I love St.
Yeah.
James.
Totally.
Yeah, it's right near Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, so you can go to
All
a
right.
protest and
So
you know.
Guys,
That's
all
gonna-
glory be to God.
that's
Thank
going to
you so
conclude
much,
this
Rita.
episode.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you, Rita,
welcome.
for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
How much
Thank you so
time?
much for
before?
having me.
Couple more seconds. But
Okay, God, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Know Your Enemies podcast, and look for us on the Real America Voice app. Download it.
see you on 24.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Rita.
Thanks.
Know your enemy.